combos to bet turn with. I mean, the hearts are clearly in it, right?
Yep.
And then I find myself thinking I kind of prefer diamonds slightly, maybe. I need a little randomization here. Okay. So we get this one, this one, this one. All right. And then this one's out, and then we get something like this, right? Those ones seem reasonable. And then, all right, so we're thinking about 10-8s here, and there's nothing really to differentiate them. So I'll start here. I think there's 7X's and 10-8 in here. And then you can actually go through here and check ace-jack. Okay, so I screwed up this board somehow. And we got something like this. Okay. So it looks like, and he needs 35%, it turns out, with the bet sizings. So, all right, so it turns out we're a little high on this. So
we have too many bluffs.
We have a little too many bluffs. So I'm guessing 10-8 needs to get moved out of this thing. Okay, so now we're roughly right. So when I'm thinking about this spot in game, what I'm really thinking about is I need to make sure that I hit, basically, I think this is like 12 combos of 7x here. 3, 3, 12. So 12 combos of 7x here as bluffs. And that should get me really close to what the number is for him. And maybe it turns out that for some reason the pool's a little bit too tight right now. Maybe we do want to move this up a little bit, but I would go with half the 10-8s here until I knew the guy was overfolding, because these spots are fairly low. I mean, they don't happen a ton, right? It's going to be hard to collect a ton of data. So, and if you saw the guy consistently stacking ace-jack on these board textures, well, we probably need to revamp either our value range slightly. So if you did, one of the things that happens here sometimes, Eric, is that 3 straight boards, especially middling 3 straight boards, like queen 10-8. So you've got this queen 10-8 board. Lots of guys will just never fold something like queen jack there or jack 10 because it blocks the straight. And so the actual consequence of that is that a set now on that board textures is actually a pretty good jam. So jamming 8s there makes sense because they tend to overcall. So the same idea would apply here. Basically, we would take the ace-7 combos in, and we can actually check this and see if we do actually get ace-7 in. So now that we have this, we can go in and we can actually, rejigger this frequency. So see ace-jack is at 32%, and we can start to play with it. Okay. So that actually brings me to my next point here, though, with this. When you look at, so this is our original ranking system. 7x, jack 10, 10-8, queen 10, and then these low cards. If we check this in Pio, if you look, 10-8 gets pure checked here. Pio would prefer to bet 6-5 or 4-3 here.
Yeah, the much lower ones.
Yeah, in fact, apparently.
Why 4-3? Wow.
Well, because of this interaction with the board.
It's got like no equity on the turn.
The lack of interaction with the board makes it a priority bluff. So if so basically they unblock the folding range.
Unblocks the folding range. So it unblocks, for example, I guess a lot of weak kings.
Well, I mean, they also unblock a bunch of weak aces.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not jumping up and down here to call ace-4 suited to the pot line. So, you're more likely to see ace-3 or ace-4 folded here on the turn. And so when you get to the river, if you look at the fold frequencies of these two combos, 4-3 of spades, he's going to fold 63% of the time to that bet. Whereas you have something like 10-8 of spades, which he's going to call ace-10 mainly on that turn.
It's interesting he's calling with the three, ace three and ace four, because it blocks our bluff.
No, because he has less of them.
I
So
see.
basically, when he calls these hands, there's now this is hyper technical, and truthfully, if we ever get to this point, I don't know if I'll still play poker because we're really splitting hairs at this point, Eric. Just a heads up. Basically, the idea with this is that we can't add in more bluffs of fours and threes, so it's a safer call. So when he calls ace three and ace four here, it's a safer call than calling ace 10. Because if we knew he always called ace 10 and folded ace 4, we could add a lot more 10s into our bluffing range. Does that make sense?
I mean,
Because we just
I
have
think
more
so.
10s combinatorially. So he'll always call the hands that we have less combos of. And so we have less combos of ace 3 and ace 4, or 4-3 suited, less combos of 3s and 4s than we do 10s.
In our bluffing range.
No, just in our overall range.
In our overall range.
Because, when we're trying to structure this turn betting range, if we knew that he called a bunch of 10s, we would obviously try to block him with the 10x combos. And we'd be able to add a lot of 10x combos in here because we have we have dozens of them basically. Whereas if we knew that he only wanted to call 4x here or 3x, we could only add in a couple more combos because of 5-3 suited and 4-3 suited and queen 3 suited. We just don't have very many of them.
I see.
So there's a kind of a subtle counter exploitation idea with this. And again, we're really splitting hairs at this point. I don't think you'll ever know exactly how good this guy calls river down to that level of sophistication. If you do, we're it'd be light years ahead of what we're currently doing.
Yeah.
From my personal perspective here, I would just be happy to get a decent count on this river for my bluffing range. So that I made sure in this scenario I was bluffing enough that when he folded ace 10 or ace jack, it wasn't a win for him. Because these combos obviously, if he always folds them, we lose a substantial amount of value with our nut hands. And so if I go in here and I take a look at the ace X region with and equity under 36 or 37, is it 37? Oh, we're going big here. I missed that. It's not as geometric as the prior sim. If he always folds these things, and then he mix folds his medium strength 2-pair combos. Now, ace 10, aces or kings here. Kings is down almost 8 big blinds here, 9. I can compare it to the deuce of 3 of clubs. It's going to be roughly the same value. Yeah, it's down almost 9 big blinds here, Eric. If he defects in this scenario to a slight overfold strategy and we have a pair of kings, that's a giant change in value. So when I think about these spots, what I really think about is, man, I have to get these bluffs right.
Yeah.
And it's not because those bluffs in and of themselves should make a lot of money. It's because if I come across a pool, which I think I've managed to do over the last 50,000 hands that are making kind of weird hero folds, I am going to really hurt the value of my kings combos here. And I'm not going to get the offset. Because the offset here is that now that 10-7 combo is worth 18 big blinds as a bluff.
Right.
I should be able to get the offset. Ideally you'd like to have your cake and eat it too and have them overfold and be able to pick up a bunch of these pots. But what I get worried about on these type of nodes is that the value ranges are small enough that if you auto bluff, the ratios are going to be all out of line. So I can actually go through here and I know how much of this range is value. Do a little trick here, about 25 combos. So remember our flop play? There was something like 180 bluffs.
Mm-hmm.
If you auto bluff here, it will be super noticeable, and the EV of every single call will be insane. So when you think about this node and basically how to structure a bluffing range here, I think the key idea is to make sure that those things are basically 50-50-ish at most. Maybe you can get to 55. But I've never really wanted to take this, particular node and turn it into 180 bluff, 25 value, because you run across that one player auto calls, you will lose a ton of money. And so I think it is far more important here to keep the bluffing region, somewhere between, I think, what is this, 14 combos to about 30 combos. That way, when you're looking at this and this guy's trying to figure out how to call, he's not looking through the hands the next day going, geez, this guy always bluffs this spot. Because that is a sure way to get called. Alright, so let's look at your flop over bets here in my database.
0.
0, 3 of 3 value. Alright, I'll give you the slightly smaller bets. Okay, so you'd like to undersize a little bit here when you have trash. So you bet a little bit smaller. You got 3 of 3 folds on this. You got 7 of 7 folds here somehow. So, alright. So hypothetically here, Eric, I'm going to do a little distribution work with this.
What the hell is this?
It's called R. I've been using it lately for this sort of problem. Basically, I have to be a little careful with this, but basically the idea with this is that you can actually use a probability distribution to describe these spots. So I'm going to put in that he's folded 7 times out of the last 8. But the actual probability of him folding, the true probability of him folding, is only 60%. And then we're going to see how often this happens. So basically, like 1 in 50 times, if he was actually folding 60%, you would see a fold of at least 7 out of 8 times. So basically 2% of the time that that the 60% is true, you would see a fold here. So if you look in database and you see that they managed to fold roughly 7 of 7 there, you should have some alarm bells going off in your head. It's not certain here that they overfold, Eric.
It's probable.
It's very likely, though.
Bayes' theorem.
Yeah. I mean, if they folded 62% of the time, we would see this. Like, they probably fold a different frequency. It's probably higher. So, when you're thinking about these, and you found the right boards for these, right? So when you're thinking about these kind of high card boards with these 2 Broadway combos, really the idea here has to be how to bluff it and bluff it effectively. Because without those bluffs, they're going to want to just deviate to fold every time. Because trust me, no one wants to call these bets. I mean, if you're right and it's roughly Pio-esque here, the best I can ever do with something like King 10 of spades is +1 big blind. And if I'm wrong and you don't bluff enough, which has been traditional here, it's just like -3. So basically, I think of the smart money here actually overfolds these nodes to the big bets. Because if you look at your button here and you say, okay, the button bet over pot on the flop, how many bluffs did they show up with? None. They've done it 8 times in your sample. There's 1 king-queen combo and 8-3-4. These draws are pretty much just neutral because you need a ton of coverage here to call this bet. So if I look at the out of position equity of something like ace-8 here, I mean, it's almost 67% to call the bet. And king-9 is at 58%. So if I do like a simple range construction here on the flop, and we go back to 2000 whatever, 2008. We're dialing back into 2008 poker, right? And I just pick my semi bluffs here. So we're just gonna bet our gut shots, and then we're gonna bet sevens. This is an old school strategy, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Like this is like classic old school strat. And I have king 9 of spades, or king 9 of clubs here.